Good morning, All Souls. Welcome, All Souls, to the warmth of this sanctuary on this cold and crisp winter morning at the end of a winter week here in D.C. I'm Bill Singford. My pronouns are he and him. We gather in liminal time between what we have known and the living that lies in our future. We gather here in this sanctuary for both memory and hope. We gather once again into community, into this diverse, spirit-growing, justice-seeking community. We bring our history and all of our hopes into this community, committed to becoming worthy of being called beloved. Come now and let us worship. We light our chalice as we gather to rekindle the spirit of community. We light our chalice in faith, in hope, and in love. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in our first hymn, Gather the Spirit.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Ed Novak, and you can use the pronouns he and him if you're going to talk about me. Welcome to All Souls Church Unitarian, where all people of all races, national origins, creeds, gender identities, and expressions, sexual orientations, ages, and abilities, where all people are welcome at this table of love and fellowship. We gather in person and on Zoom from around the world. If you're visiting our sanctuary for the first time, or Zoom broadcast for the first time, or if you still feel a little new here, maybe you could raise your hand or let the folks know in the Zoom chat so that we can give you an All Souls welcome. Are there any visitors? If you're visiting in the sanctuary, I encourage you to fill out the visitor card in the pew and place it in the offering plate. We will get back to you. And please join us for coffee hour in Pierce Hall out the doors to your right. Grab a red mug and visit our welcoming corner to learn more about the church. If you want to stay informed about upcoming events and happenings in our community, our weekly email newsletter is written by real live human beings, not an AI chatbot. If you're not currently subscribed, sign up on the All Souls website, or if you're on Zoom, through the link in the chat. Today, we honor the great legacy of Indigenous and enslaved peoples at this international crossroads, now called Washington, D.C. For generations, Indigenous Piscataway tribes have been the traditional caretakers of our bioregion. They were once trading peoples in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, living along what we now call the Anacostia and Potomac rivers. More than 200 years ago, Euro-American settler colonists founded this church. We have inhabited 3 All Souls church buildings on different sites taken from Indigenous peoples. Each was also built by workers who were immigrants or descendants of enslaved peoples. The heritage of all these ancestors is still here in this region and in our congregation. In 2024, our All Souls beloved community commits to learn more about these complex histories. You might begin by exploring 2 dynamic Smithsonian institutions, the National Museum of the American Indian and the National Museum of African American History and Culture. We can all learn more online or plan to visit in person. Mark your calendars. On Saturday, February 3rd at 11 a.m., you are invited on an All Souls visit to the National Museum of the American Indian. More details to come. Now is our time to greet one another. If you're on Zoom, open your gallery screen and wave to each other. If you're in the sanctuary, please greet each other now in the manner that feels safest and most comfortable to you. Thank you. Thank you again. We're so glad you're here today. Let's continue our conversations and greetings after the service. Again, welcome to All Souls.
I hate to say anything. I love to be surrounded in the bubble of the choir sound. Thank you so much. It's beautiful. And your singing. Greetings, everyone. I'm Reverend Louise, Minister of Congregational Care, pronouns she, her. It's great to be with you today. I have a few announcements to begin. As you may have heard, we are ready to move forward with a much needed capital campaign, Hope Rises, to ensure the future of this building and our community. We have repairs to accomplish for the next generations and the current one, and we can do this. This does require a majority approval of our members via a congregational vote, which we're going to do by electronic ballot for greater access. All eligible voting members of the congregation will be emailed a ballot today, and then you have all week to put your vote in. If you're not sure of your current voting eligibility, then you can contact Rose Eaton, our membership director. And there is an information session on Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Zoom, if you're just not sure what all this is. The RSVP and Zoom link are in the newsletter or on the website calendar for Tuesday. And your ballot will be coming in email today. Check your junk folder. Every Wednesday is a Welcoming Wednesday at All Souls. This week we are having an international potluck at 6:30. And you can bring something to eat or drink that represents your culture, your travels, maybe your bucket list. And I look forward to joining you this week along with Rose. This is a small group experience for fun and fellowship, and all ages are welcome. International Potluck, Wednesday, 6:30. And finally, I'm excited about a big February 4th event that's coming soon, Growing Our Connections. It's right after service on Sunday. It'll be from noon to 2. We hope that a larger group of many souls from across our communities will gather and eat lunch. And then we want to foster new connections, help you reconnect with those you know, and celebrate just showing up to listen, learn, and grow. There'll be breakout groups that have 3 distinct experiences. You can sample a covenant group. We'll have a dialogue about radical hospitality, and we'll deepen relationships with a meet and greet question. So you'll get all 3 of those experiences in your group. Please do register on the website or newsletter so we order enough food. And come nourish your spirit, get outside your usual All Souls boxes, whatever they are, and grow your connections, and have a little fun. We start congregational care today with a congratulations to Judy Fisher, who is now the very proud grandmother of River Jude Rice. River's mom, Adjua Fisher, grew up in All Souls religious education, and we wish Adjua, spouse Zach, and their first son some beautiful first weeks together in Philly. We're thinking of Adrian Dale, who is now in Sligo, Peak Sligo skilled nursing after some days of hospitalization and treatment. Thank you so much to the caring team of All Souls members, Adrian's friends, who have been involved in this situation, and with her brother, John. Healing and love to Adrian as she recovers. Virginia View will be discharged from National Rehab on Thursday after back surgery 2 weeks ago, and she told her daughter, Janice, that now she better step up her tap dancing. It's so Virginia. So we send love and care to her and her spouse, Akbar Sharif. We're thinking of Camille Kirsch, who has a good friend, Monica, who is hospitalized right now for mental health treatment of bipolar disease. We send Monica blessings and encouragement, and Camille and family, in hopes for more ease and stabilization. Condolences also to Shirley Thompson, whose beloved niece, Kim, died after a 7-year period with ovarian cancer. We are thinking of Shirley, spouse Clyde, and their grandson DJ, who was very close to Kim. Condolences also to Carolyn Stites, whose mother Rebecca died on January 5th in Fairfax after a short illness and a long life. She was 104, and Carolyn was with her as she passed peacefully. So we hold Carolyn, her partner, Liz Coit, and the extended family in thoughts and prayers. And one last loss, we also offer condolences to Amani El-Kasabani, let us hope I am pronouncing this correctly, I forgot to ask you, and John Tambernino. Amani's mother, Atiat Mahmoud Shosha, suffered a severe stroke last month in Greenville, North Carolina. She died January 9th, held by her 3 children. She was buried next to her husband of 54 years. Amani's mother emigrated to the U.S. from her native Egypt as a young mother, guided always by her abiding Muslim faith, Amani says. May Allah hold her in loving embrace, and may we hold Amani, John, and their family during this deep time of mourning and loss. And now, in the midst of so much, your names and situations into this room or into the chat in our connecting souls. Our final congregational care is a global one. We are restarting a Sunday ritual. We will renew the weekly tolling of our Revere Bell, who you may have heard at 10:15 and that you are about to hear again. We are starting with a call for justice and compassion and peace in the world right now. If you would like to ring the bell, you love heights and can climb about 80 stairs, then let me know. And thank you to Jim Pastore and Amanda Cornaglia, who are in the tower now, bundled, waiting. It has been more than 100 days since the brutal October 7th attack by Hamas into Israel and the unrelenting destruction and horror for the people of Gaza. The grief and the suffering is vast. We know the roots of this violent conflict are at least 70 years old and go further back through centuries. And even if military gain is asserted, there is always more harm, more hatred, more dehumanization which goes with this violence. There is no such thing as total victory in the realm of war, and this delusion will destroy us. We long for an end to all toxic warfare, a prompt return of the Israeli hostages, an immediate major humanitarian aid to Gaza, the creation of a new and powerful plan for the peoples of this region. And we pray that nonviolent movements, that collaborative vision might flourish, that the great sorrow of both the Jewish and the Palestinian peoples might receive true acknowledgement, relief, and care. We long for justice and compassion and for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. I invite you into a time of meditation. We will toll our Revere Bell for 1 minute for peace throughout the Middle East, for every war-torn region, and we declare that we are pro-human, honoring the web of all creation, naming the oneness of all peoples.
We hold all the names that were spoken and all those names still held in our hearts with great care this morning. May the tolling of the Revere bell ringing out from our bell tower be heard calling for ceasefire and a peace that grows from justice. May that be so. I want to offer a reading this morning by the Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. It's entitled, A Letter to Our Better Angels. Dear angels, it seems important to begin by making it clear that we are not talking about celestial winged beings. This letter is addressed instead to our better selves, the people we hope we will be when necessary. We are writing to let you know that we feel your presence insufficient and unpredictable. And when we inquire about how to make you more dependable, we are offended by and opposed to the level of accountability required. We're hoping to make arrangements with you for an increase in the percentage of goodness and the presence of admirable qualities in ourselves and in others, especially others. We respectfully request that this come easily and with immediate delivery, a dependable warranty and at no extra cost. We would be even more pleased if it could be arranged for us to become better people without needing to change. It would also please us if our status as increasingly good could be noted in some way. Perhaps a cookie, a badge, a halo, so long as it's comfortable. We hope you will consider our request as soon as humanly possible, not in angel time. We have already waited a long time, unaware of the seriousness of the situation. Please expedite our request. We have only just noticed the world is ending. Sincerely. Dear angels, can you please arrange for us to become better people? Guarantee an increase in our goodness, please. And get on with it. We've just noticed how bad things are. Help us become the people we want to be. It's easy to poke fun at our hopes to miraculously become better people, to become perfect people. I say our hopes. Ministers are not exempt from striving to be better people, more tolerant, more patient, more filled with loving kindness. There's a reason that song speaks to us with such power. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. Some of us, too much of the time, and all of us, I think, some of the time, do not feel whole or at peace. Don't feel all that good about ourselves. Feel that we can do better, that we should do better. And so we strive to be the people we think we want to be. We strive for some kind of perfection. And it's such hard work always to be striving, never quite satisfied, so easy to feel inadequate. May I be filled with loving kindness. That song, it names the goal, that aspiration, but in a voice that does not invite judgment, the kind of self-criticism, the punishment we can deliver up to ourselves for falling short. Punishment and perfectionism. Where do those notions fit in this progressive faith, in this place called All Souls? Our religious tradition is of two minds, or at least it was. The early Unitarians had a deep commitment to improving themselves. Self-culture is what they called it. Journaling, study, those gatherings where the educated thinkers of the day would discuss philosophical and political issues, self-study. They had those practices that sustained their belief that they were on a path to improvement. The Unitarians bought into perfectionism, and they thought they were pretty well along the way. You've heard me preach about that before. The Unitarians thought they were too good to be damned by God. It's a good line because there is just enough truth in it. And because they thought they were already on that path, you won't find much focus in early Unitarian thought about forgiveness. They didn't think they needed it, at least not much. You have to remember their privilege. They were the upper crust in a New England founded as a city on a hill, the fulfillment of Christian and European hope. And they actually believed that about themselves. And it justified for them manifest destiny, among many other things. Even their abolitionism, those who were abolitionists, and not all of them were, even their abolitionism was not really grounded in compassion. Most of them believed the former slaves should be shipped back to Africa. Abolition was about removing a blemish on their moral character. It was not about moving toward beloved community. This faith, I should say, has come a long way since then. But I digress. The Unitarian tradition of perfectionism, of self-improvement, lives on today here at All Souls. That's why there has been a ministry called Adult Spiritual Development here, spiritual development, for many decades. The message from this pulpit is often to do better, live out our faith more fully, answer the challenges of the day more effectively, even my preaching. Perfectionism is not our primary message, but it certainly is a subtext of many of the messages that we preach. All Souls Unitarian. Onward and upward? Oh yeah. But the Universalists? Surely they avoided that constant striving, right? Surely they meant, come as you are. They were Universalists, right? Their faith was not about judgment or perfectionism or punishment. Well, no. And yes, it's complicated. The first controversy within the young Universalist faith was about purgatory. Yes, purgatory. Oh, the early Universalists believed that everyone was going to heaven, that God would gather us all into that ultimate beloved community. But would everyone be welcomed through those pearly gates as soon as they died? No waiting? Even Hosea Ballou, whom we call the father of Universalism, even Ballou admitted that many people do not die in a state of grace. Remember, the Universalists believed that conversion, a change of heart, was required. So if you'd not experienced conversion before you died, there would need to be some change in you after death before those gates could open for you. At least that is what some early Universalists believed. Was some time waiting in purgatory required or not? It became a public controversy. Articles were published back and forth. Today we would say that the controversy trended. Ballou fell back on the distinction between body and spirit. The sinful, imperfect body is what passed away. The pure spirit was welcomed into heaven right away. It's pretty problematic theology, friends. But some other Universalist leaders said, no, if there hasn't been that turning toward love in your heart, you will have to wait in purgatory. Probation is what they called it. Sorry, but you'll have to wait. And the debate went on for years and became acrimonious, as disagreements in the church can, All Souls know something about that. How long might that probation last? Well, they admitted that answering that question was speculation, but they guessed about it anyway. 50,000 years was the estimate of one Universalist leader. 50,000 years. Edward Turner's was the main voice raised in favor of probation. When Ballou and the Death and Glory Universalists, I love this language about them, Death and Glory Universalists, when they clearly carried the day, thank goodness, because I don't know what I'd be preaching today if they had not, Turner resigned his Universalist ministerial fellowship and became, wait for it, a Unitarian preacher, because many Unitarians were just fine with purgatory, thank you very much. Though Death and Glory won the debate, it's important to note that the two positions existed side by side in the same congregations for decades. It's as if Universalism knew. I'm not sure that a denomination can know. Does a denomination have some personhood that I'm missing there? I don't know. It's as if Universalism had a practice of holding both thoughts, both spiritual priorities at the same time. Both the need to aspire to higher standards, I'm translating into language that's a little bit more contemporary now, both the need to hold ourselves to high standards and the need to accept ourselves and others as we are. Perfectionism and come as you are. Universalism held those in tension, and so do we. So, there's your history lesson for this morning. Though the terms of that old debate may seem strange and irrelevant today, though most of us, not all, but most, have moved beyond trying to guess what future ultimately awaits us, if any. Most of it content to leave the unknowable as a mystery. I still believe the core questions here are still live for us and still very live in our world. When I say, come as you are, but don't stay as you are, I'm putting a stake in the ground that affirms the traditional Unitarian position, that we can change, can become wiser, more grounded, filled with loving kindness, or at least more filled with loving kindness. When I say, come as you are, but don't stay as you are, I'm also claiming that Universalist promise that we are all welcome, all already lovable and already loved, that we can still be called into a conversion, into a change of heart. Come as you are, but don't stay as you are, is a Unitarian, Universalist point of view. We hold that tension between high standards and open-hearted welcome. It's a part of this faith. Now, today we understand perfectionism in much more complex ways. Perfectionism is not a neutral value. It can be part of that culture of white supremacy we are committed to dismantling. But Bill, I can hear some of you saying, I thought you just said that self-improvement, that high aspiration is a goal, that's part of our faith, that we need to hold on to that. And yes, I did. But perfectionism as a solo or primary value or way of being in the world assumes that we, whoever we might be, agree on what is perfect, what that goal looks like. And just to remind you, our images of perfection, from Barbie to Dr. King and Barack Obama, there's a reason that King, not Malcolm X, has a memorial down on the mall. That Obama, not Cornel West, was the first black president. Why it took so many decades for there to be BIPOC Barbie dolls. There's a reason. Our images of what is perfect of the goal toward which we strive. Our images were created by a culture with white supremacy embedded in its very DNA. This faith, we are committed to finding, to creating a better way. And as I struggle to understand the divisions out there in the world, I wonder whether those on the conservative fringe, the MAGA crowd, with whom we disagree so completely on so many things, I wonder if part of their passion is not a rejection of the privilege and the perfectionism that is so much a part of who we are. I wonder if at least some of those who embrace the lies, who embrace the racism and the xenophobia, who complain about the coastal elites and the privileges bestowed by education, I wonder if some of them might be saying, we are good enough just as we are, with all of our prejudices and our refusal to buy into your leadership. Come as you are. Well, here we are. We are being left behind, and we refuse to be left behind. We will take down your dream before we will accept your judgment about us. I wonder if they may not be rejecting a perfectionism that has in fact benefited so many of us. Or it could just be the racism. I don't know. Or maybe all of those things bound up together. I do believe very deeply that argument, that process of more heat than light, is not the answer. We can't even agree about what facts to argue about. These are feelings, deep feelings on both sides. And we cannot be unclear about our values. In fact, I think we need to get clearer about them. But perhaps what we need is to find a way to bring more compassion to the table. The Universalists, they did not believe that anyone could be bullied into a conversion, by the way. More compassion, more loving kindness, perhaps. It is like the call for ceasefire in Gaza that needs to name the tragedy on both sides, to condemn the violence, all of it, or it will surely fail. Now, there's more than one sermon here, I know, but it is hard for me not to keep searching for a way forward, because we know the current path leads only to more violence abroad, and I fear here at home. For us, perfectionism is not just a theory to be rejected. It's far more personal than that. Perfectionism, that constant striving, never feeling fulfilled, perfectionism can become a purgatory itself. That feeling of being driven, never able to be at ease, forgiveness for self so hard to find, that goal cutting us off from really living. Perfectionism can become a purgatory. Perfectionism, however it is defined and by whom, closes off possibilities, insists that there is one right way. And I am certain we need some new possibilities. We need some new possibilities, some different ways, and some grace. So, what about us? How do we navigate holding both the hope for improvement and the need for acceptance? How do we hold the hope for conversion and the belief in grace? Here at All Souls, I have heard a pretty complicated relationship to perfectionism. Take this building. You're being asked to vote to move forward with the Hope Rises capital campaign, and I hope you will. This building needs overdue TLC, and I've not talked with anyone who disagrees. But I have also not talked to anyone who believes that this building should be shiny, should be perfect. People not only want this building to be usable and well used, many folks also want this building to look a little used, not too slick, not too perfect, not shabby, but not too shiny either. And perhaps that's a metaphor for our spirits as well. We need to hold both high standards and acceptance in tension at the same time. So, what should we study? Let's accept the fact that education and love of learning, that's who we are, so what should we study? Well, we should study the facts of the world and expand the viewpoints and the voices we include. Yes, that. But we know how to do that kind of study. That's the kind of study we're good at. We should also make a study of understanding the privilege we have and working to dismantle it. Take seriously the eighth principle, working to correct anything that stands against love, to quote Dr. King. Yes, we should do that as well. But I believe the heart of our study should be about forgiveness and about grace and the spiritual work of holding humility along with our agency and our power. I believe that accountability will only become our practice, really our practice, when we practice it. And that we, all of us, will need to find a place beyond defensiveness and beyond righteousness. I'm coming to believe that it is faithfulness, not perfection, that should become our goal. A place of compassion with our hearts wide open to a loving kindness that is not sentimental, but certain of what is important and what we need for our own liberation. Ross Gay, an author and one of my favorite informal theologians, writes of this. Attending to what we love, what we are astonished by, what flummoxes us with beauty is crucial work. Studying how we care and are cared for, how we tend and are tended to, how we give and are given is such necessary work. It makes the world. And we are mostly too acquainted with the opposite, with the wreckage. It commands our attention, and for good reason. We have to survive it. But the wreckage needn't be the primary object of our study. The survival need be. The care need be. How we are loved need be. Our gratitude need be. It is the love I want to study, Ross Gay writes, and this is with whom? It is the love we need to study, and this is with whom? Ashe and amen.
I attended Roman Catholic schools for 16 years. 16 years. The concepts of heaven, hell, and purgatory flow through my veins like cheap wine from Trader Joe's. I always considered purgatory to be something like a waiting room outside the dentist's office. You're filled with uncertainty, hope, maybe even dread. Maybe you don't have any cavities. Woohoo! Heaven. Or maybe there'll be a lot of drilling. Ah, shucks, hell. Also, you don't have an appointment, so you don't know how long you'll be waiting. But you must follow your better angels while you wait. So I must confess that the last 4 years at All Souls has felt to me a little bit like purgatory. At the onset of the pandemic, All Souls Sanctuary closed, and we entered the dentist's waiting room of uncertainty. And yet, through it all, we followed our better angels. We Zoomed, volunteered, sang, trickled back into the pews, masked and unmasked, and we contributed to the operation of All Souls in a generous, even breathtaking fashion. Today, we're still in transition, but I believe the future of All Souls is coming into focus. We are on the precipice of something new and exciting, but we are not quite there yet. So we cannot lose our focus on getting there. That includes continuing your generosity with your time, your talent, and yes, your finances. And you can insert your own dentist metaphor here. As we prepare for today's offering, please keep in mind that each month we give 50% of the non-pledge plate offering to the wider community. Our January recipient is Mama Toto Village. Based in Ward 7, Mama Toto is founded and is led by women of color. They provide accessible perinatal support services and equip women with the tools to make the most informed decisions in their maternity care, parenting, and lives. If you're in the sanctuary, the ushers will be passing the plate for our offering. You can also text to All Souls by sending ASCU to 73256. If you're on Zoom, click the link in the chat, which will direct you to All Souls online giving. Thank you for your generosity. Today's offering will now be gratefully taken and received.
When we sleep, when we rise, Reverend Bill invited us into a place of compassion, a place where our hearts can be wide open. Our closing song is by Leah Morris. She says, "Keep your heart wide open, though the waves want to push you around. You've got to keep your heart wide open until your faith can bring you back to solid ground." The choir is going to sing it a couple of times through. I invite you to join in when the music starts to feel familiar, or if it doesn't feel familiar, just clap on 2 and 4, and that's good too. I invite you to rise in body, rise in spirit, hearts wide open.
The beloved community is best not crisply defined, best held open, so that our vision of the good can grow beyond what we have thus far found. But may this beloved community always hold both high aspirations and deep forgiveness. May we hold our hearts wide open so that love can point the way toward a hope we can trust. May that be so. Ashe and amen.